allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try not to get blinded, blinded by the light here. I did want to just mention that our manager Jackie is not present tonight. She is out sick, so you're gonna get sick of me by the end of the night.
No, you'll go fast.
We'll keep it going. I also wanted to announce that, this will help. I want to announce that we had an executive session on Monday, June 24th regarding legal issues. And then we just had one prior to this session here, July 15th, for possible litigation. We do need to approve the minutes for the Board of Supervisors meeting and the workshop minutes, which are two different motions. Does someone care to make a motion on those?
I would make both motions at the same time. If you think I have to separate them.
Dave?
You can do one motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we approved those minutes. And we do have a couple of presentations tonight. So I appreciate everybody coming out here. I again apologize to Ted that we had a workshop and one of the presenters was going to be our traffic safety and Ted was going to do that. And we just got very chatty on the other item that was going on. And so we had to pass and move to tonight. So we're making sure that you go up first, but I think we might pull our officer in because do you want to do that? Or
No, well, I told.
is it better?
Up there?
Yeah, would you like to do it right now? Is that good for you, Officer Russell? Okay, we're gonna just quick jump to that because he has something going on that he needs to get back to. So we'll get the police report first. Little out of order.
Okay, thank you for doing that.
Sure.
West Vincent Township Police Department, June 2024 monthly report. For training, we had our animal control officer do have a dangerous dogs and stray animals training. Summary totals: number of calls for service, 150, number of crimes investigated, 4, number of arrests, 1, criminal mischief and disorderly conduct, number of traffic stops, 27, and number of accidents investigated, 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Russell.
Keep safe. And cool.
Thank you. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ted. Ted Otten.
All right. Thank you, supervisors. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. My name is Ted Otney. I'm a resident of the township. I live on Phillips Lane, just up the road here. And I'm a member of the Traffic Safety Committee. I think that's what we're called. One of the,
And planning.
well, that's neither here nor there. But I'm a member with some other residents of the Traffic Safety Committee. And one of the things we were tasked with is to look at some safety deficiencies throughout the township, see if we could come up with some ways to improve it, make recommendations to the board or to the township. And, one of the first things we looked at that was brought to our attention was the sight distance availability. I guess one other thing I want to add real quick before I jump into this, I should also note that I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Pennsylvania. I've been practicing, highway and bridge design for 30 years, and I'm currently a director of public works in another municipality. So I have a lot of experience with sight distance and highway design and stuff like that, just so you know that I'm not just, a weekend warrior pulling stuff off the internet. This is what I do for a living. What we did is, we sort of started with a concern about the sight distance at the intersection of St. Matthews Road and Horseshoe Trail. That's going to be location 2 right there. And just so that we all know where that's at, right down here is the township building. And then this is, St. Matthews Road. I think everybody knows St. Matthews Road. It's rather infamous for its roadway quality. So it's just up the road a little bit. We started to look at this, but the first thing I'm going to look at is what we're calling the S curve a little bit further to the east. It's between Ivy and Pine Drive. And I drive this frequently, and I know that there's a very deficient sight distance right there. And before I get too far into it, this is a table. As an engineer, there's very detailed calculations that we can do for sight distance. We can really get into the speed of the vehicle, the size of the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, the grades of the road. But PennDOT has put together sort of a cheat sheet that we all use, this site distance table. So this is something PennDOT uses anytime somebody wants to build a driveway. They whip out this sheet and they want to make sure that there's this much site distance for you to build a driveway. But basically, the engineering calculation behind this site distance table is enough time for a driver at a set speed. These are the speeds here. A driver at a set speed to recognize, react, and stop to a hazard in the road. If you don't have enough time to do all three, there's likely going to be, an accident. So that's what all the site distance is based off of. So this is the S curve right here. Right there, I think that's Pine Drive. Ivy is just off the way here. And as you come through this curve, you'll notice the way this bump of the curve is and the vegetation that sticks out, one can't see through there. And for a 30, let's see, what's this road posted at? I think 30. So the road is posted at 30. And right now, for the sake of this discussion, I'm just using the posted speed limits. I'm not using the 85th percentile speeds. I'm not using the speeds that everybody drives these days. I'm just using the posted speed limit. So
That posted or recommended?
Posted.
posted, that's the posted speed, is 30 miles per hour. So therefore, based upon 30 miles per hour, the engineering guidance, there should be 196 feet of sight distance to get through that curve. But you can see that blue line there is the 196 feet. And you can't see through that curve with all the vegetation. I don't know how many people drive that regularly, but that's well deficient of 196 feet. And that's obviously a driver's view. And what I say here in this next picture, as you're coming around this curve, if a pedestrian is on the correct side of the road, they're on your side of the road walking towards you. And there could be somebody walking right there, coming out of that. And it's my opinion that so much related to our interactions on the road is sight distance related. If you see a pedestrian or a bicyclist, 200, 300 feet out as you're driving down the road, as a driver, we all sort of change what we're doing. We slow down a little bit, we move over a little bit, we become a little bit more aware of what's going on. But when you get in a situation like this, I don't care if you're doing 25 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, when you come face to face with that pedestrian, it's going to be a bad experience for both of you. So that's something we're trying to recommend to be rectified here. We need to put a bolt in this thing. Okay, so that's the S curves. Anybody have any questions on that? Or I don't know, the supervisors, how that works?
I think it would be pertinent to say that's a township road and St. Matthews is not.
That's fair. So yeah,
We have responsibility for that, but not necessarily St. Matthews. I just want to.
we can debate, we can discuss that. There's exceptions to that.
Yeah, but we're not at that level right yet.
As I
I'm
look at this,
disagreeing with your study.
Sarah's talking about, roadway ownership and, what rights and obligations the township may have. Within Horseshoe Trail, the township owns the road. They own and are responsible and have an obligation and a right, everything within the right of way. And the right of way isn't just the road, it's a legal boundary outside the road. And it's kind of unique. I haven't seen this in too many locations. You can see the lines here. There's a center line of the road. The right of way to the south is only 16 and a half feet, which is pretty normal. It's either 16 and a half or 25 feet is pretty normal. But on the north side of the road, up against Houndstooth, the township actually owns 40 feet. I don't know if it's 30 or 40, but it's like 30 or 40 feet off the road. So that is all township property there, township property.
Just for the length of the subdivision, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Ted, I don't want to distract too much, but there was something that Jackie had put in the manager notes that I think she had wanted to discuss when she was here. So I'll just throw it out because it kind of relates to what you guys are saying. And it also answers a question that Julia asked last meeting where I kind of shut her down. It's like, we're not talking about that now, no traffic safety, but the question of, if we see an issue, why don't we just do it? Okay, so now she's saying here, that should be noted that we simply cannot remove trees unless they meet the following criteria as per the state. One, the tree must be in the township's right of way, not PennDOT's right of way, the township's right of way. And two, the tree must create a hazard to the township's triangulate sight line to remove trees. We cannot remove dead trees without said requirements. Some of the trees marked are located on private property. We cannot remove those trees without consent. And if we ask the property owners to remove them, they will need to meet the above requirements. Many of the trees marked by the committee do not meet these requirements. That's somebody's opinion. So I just want to throw that out there, that it's not just like, we have to
These-
talk about process. You don't just see this and we do it. There's more to it.
I think there's more to it, but you don't want to hamstring yourself by
Right.
finding old regulations that don't apply anymore. So all of those trees there meet the regulations, because every single one of those is within the township right away. So it's just a recommendation to be taken down. If they're not, it's just a recommendation from us.
Does the Horseshoe Trail Association have an easement along there? Or do you just?
We have one on their behalf through there. I think the township owns that easement
So,
through our right of way.
so did your committee get the recommendation that we talked to the Horseshoe Trail Association about moving their trail off the road up against the fence where the trail moves off the road before the S curve? And it comes back to the road after the S curve. So why wouldn't we put up a sign that says pedestrians, horses go this way? And at the other end, it would say pedestrian horses go that way. And they
Sir,
would
allow
not
me to be blunt. I'm an engineer. I solve problems.
Okay, well.
And the
I-
problem is the S curve and the lack of sight distance through it. So whether it's a pedestrian standing there or a block of cinder that fell off of somebody's car, there's a hazard that can't be seen from an engineering recommendation. A hazard can't be seen 196 feet out in front of you. That recommendation right there. So it's got nothing to do with relocating the pedestrians. All I'm saying is there's a low hanging fruit here to fix some safety issues.
And I'm thinking there could be an alternative that would reduce the number of trees we needed to cut, because when I heard this before, it was about somebody hiding behind that one tree in the middle of the curve. There's also something that should be on our heritage tree list on the Pine Drive side of that, which is
Just-
out of the curve, but it's very close, so don't get carried away cutting down beautiful big trees. Anyway, I just said, I've always respected your expertise and your willingness to help. I just want to make sure that we didn't get stuck too far in the engineering without thinking there might be an interim.
I
practical
I think
solution.
you're stuck too far in the let's figure out why not to do something as opposed to getting it done.
No.
But that's how I work. I work differently in a different township, and I'm an engineer.
There, right?
It's an engineering, it's a hazard. If there's an accident there, it's, the lawyers are not gonna have any defense in this situation.
And that's really the way our township works too, is, Mike is our roadmaster and he identifies a ton of things and just takes care of them. This is different because we now have a committee of residents who are getting together and they're talking about what they see. And, and I guess it can be different too. Like Bernie was mentioning how he went out for a ride with our roadmaster in a big truck and saw a completely different set of things that are problems to them. So it's all about identifying and prioritizing. And, and this is great that this committee is bringing these to our attention.
So that's the site distance there. And then the second thing we wanted to look at was Horseshoe Trail. So this is Horseshoe Trail going this way. I kind of turned everything so you can see the north arrow up there. This is Horseshoe Trail. I guess that would be westbound coming to the intersection of St. Matthews. To Sarah's point, there is, St. Matthews is a state road, but it is my professional opinion that it is our responsibility to maintain sight distance from our side streets. Just because it's slightly over this way doesn't give us the out to say, oh, it's PennDOT's problem, we're not gonna do it. Especially when you get into this, when you look at this from an engineering perspective. And again, it's all site distance and engineering related. This isn't opinion. This is engineering, these are equations, it's trigonometry. If someone was to pull out here and somebody was coming down the road at, I gotta go to the next slide where the 35 is here. Hold on, let's see if I can get there. So St. Matthews is 35. Again, I'm just saying 35 is the posted speed limit. How many people are doing 35 on St. Matthews Road? Not too many. Just one guy here. Everybody else is doing more.
Absolutely.
That would be me, and then people are beeping at me and giving me the finger, because I'm going to speed.
Well, in Pennsylvania, legal fact here, if the speed limit is 35, you are legally allowed to do 40, but that's a different conversation. So, you know, as we did this, as I stood here, you know, the site distance should be 200, what's that say there?
240.
240, 249, whatever that is, but I marked it off with the drawing here, and we put a cone out there. So I knew where that was, so we could see it. And, you know, from the stop bar, you know, all you're seeing is trees. You can only see about half the distance you need to see. So if you proceed from this location and somebody's coming down the road at 35 miles an hour and you continue to proceed, there's a very high likelihood that there could be an accident because that person is not going to have enough time to observe, react, and stop before a collision occurs. Now, luckily, you're kind of moving this way too, so you know you should be able to skedaddle out of the intersection before there's a physical contact. And so this is me. I moved up. I moved up a couple of steps, which most people do in their car when they can't see. They move up a little bit and try to look up the road a little better. So you can see they can see a little further up the road, but why are we strangling or why are we making such an effort to see through an intersection when there's a couple of dead trees here within the right of way? So these are the trees I'm pointing to. That one there doesn't look very heritage-like, nor like it's long for the world. And same with that one there, it's not long for the world. So I guess this is, a recommendation on behalf of the Traffic Safety Committee that these trees here should be removed and
So you've got 3 you're recommending there.
2. Oh, I guess there's one over here. This one here is so dead. This branch
Coming down.
is coming down. It's, when I do something, I just take care of everything when I'm there. I don't just,
And they're all in the PennDOT right away?
they're all within PennDOT's
Not
right
on
away. Yep.
private property.
They are not on private property, correct? PennDOT's not going to object if the township goes and does it. It's a safety thing. I would dare say the township has an obligation to make their site distance correct from their intersection. Because PennDOT's going to say, it's not our intersection, it's your intersection. You need to make it safe.
By the time they respond to us, if we try and get them involved, that'll long be down with the next storm.
Yep. So that's what we had that recommendation and what we kind of hope to do through this information. Here's where I started seeing some of the other trees. This is just us walking there since we were here in front of the Board of Supervisors. And, if you're going to close the road to cut some trees down or hire a contractor, all these trees here are all dead. Boom, 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 boom. As we all know, the ash trees are dying, epidemically. They're dead everywhere. Might as well start taking them down. And then this is something else we noticed. Coming down Horseshoe Trail, this is kind of a little sidebar. That utility pole there is blocking the stop sign. You can't see the stop sign. Now, granted, it doesn't mean nobody knows the stop sign there. When you get a little bit further up, you actually have a different trajectory to it. You can see it. But the fact of the matter, it's there. But it should be noted, if you go and look at it, this pole isn't serving any purpose. It's just a guide pole. Guide pole, it's for stabilizing the pole on this side of the road. There's no electricity over here. There's just a wire going from this side to this side, but it's completely slacked. And then the anchor wire, the diagonal wire that comes down, is out of the ground, just sort of hanging over here. So it's just one of those things. It's a roadside obstruction that is nothing more than a hazard, you know, not doing anything for the utility infrastructure. So,
Are we allowed to cut it?
no,
Yeah.
I'm not implying we should cut it, but just a phone call to, if I say who it is there, utility pole? It's either Pico or Verizon. But I was just trying to wonder, I looked at it, so I know in my notes whose it was. But you just send a thing out to Pico or Verizon, say, hey, needs to come down, or we recommend it come down.
What street did you say that was on, Ted?
This is on Horseshoe Trail
Also
approaching,
Okay.
approaching
Is it-
St. Matt's.
Is it in our right of way or is it on the HOA property?
That's definitely township right away. It's only like 2 feet off the road right there. So it's just, you know, again, kind of some of it's my eye as a director of public works / engineer. That's just kind of something that doesn't need to be there.
And Ted, if you took that down, what happens to the other pole? You said they're tied together, like what do they do? with that?
Normally-
Put a new pole up or take the other one down?
No, I'm not quite sure why it was put in. I don't know if the poles were in a different alignment at some point in time where this pole kind of needed to be kind of like held back in its position. And then they subsequently realigned the pole, so now the pole is straight through. But the guying function is not active. Like you'd have to have a tight wire and an anchored wire in order for it to be doing something. It's literally just catching air right now. I think that's it. What else you got?
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Ted?
Do I need to stand up?
Yes, do the
Okay, come
microphone.
stand next to-
Identify yourself.
Donna Delaney, Beaver Hill Road. First, I would like to thank Ted for his participation and his love of our township. There's been some talk at township meetings about how volunteers cost the township money. And we have an engineer who does this job and gets paid for it somewhere else, and he's doing all this for us for free. And I appreciate your service. And I'm all for safe roads. I'm chair of the West Vincent Environmental Advisory Council. And as you all know, trees provide many services to our community. They lower the temperature, for which we're all grateful right now. They mitigate flooding. They absorb carbon. I mean, the list goes on and on. And we're in a period of big tree die-off. The West Vincent Environmental Advisory Council had a presentation last summer that was incredibly depressing. We didn't know it was going to be so depressing, by our Pennsylvania state arborist, who said that not only obviously are the ashes all dying, but there's diseases for, I think, every single tree except tulip poplar and redbud. So we want safe roads, and you guys have identified dangerous trees. So how about when you get to a curve like that, having one of those signs where the speed limit is lowered to where your calculation works out that if someone was going that speed, they would be safe with the sight line.
Oh, that's a lot harder to do, isn't it?
Are we able to do the suggested speed? You know, the yellow signs, not the white signs, it says
Right.
blind curve or something.
Yeah, I just was thinking maybe that's an option. Like I've seen that in places where there's dangerous curve and they change the speed limit for the curve.
But
And Ted can figure out,
It's a recommended speed.
yeah,
Not a regulatory.
Right.
Orange, the black on yellow are just recommended speeds. Those aren't regulatory.
But we could do that.
You could.
It's
As an engineer, I would never sign off on that. You've got trees that can be removed in a very sharp curve. As a professional engineer, I would not recommend you put up a sign to
Okay,
save a tree that's half dead.
Well, would it make a sense to plant 5 trees for everyone that comes down and we just
it'll take
plant,
like
put them back
20,
further?
40 years for them.
Well,
to
these don't have any
successfully-
shade because they're dead.
Well, no, the one, I'm not cut down the
Yeah.
dead trees. The one on the F curve that you were showing on Horseshoe Trail, and where Sarah says there's heritage trees that the EAC needs to know about. So those live trees on that particular curve, there be a warning sign for there? Yes, that right there.
There is
There are two. There's one on either side of the Horseshoe Trail by the S curve, suggested 15-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Oh, so it's already there.
They just don't work.
Well, yeah, but neither do speed limit signs, so we gotta work on our public education and safety and lots of things. but-
In that box that you can't read right there, we identified 8 trees in that rectangle. 3 of them are dead and there's 5 live. So take the 3 dead ones down, I think. I would take them all down just because they're so close to the road. Yeah,
Are any,
there's a balance. You know, there's gotta be a balance, you know, we gotta save our trees, perpetuate trees. You know, a tree that's this close to the road, you know, and bear in mind, these trees, 20 years ago, that tree was only 4 inches in diameter. You know, anybody that's in, you know, that knows wood, you know, that wood grows out, so it's grown towards the road 18 inches. So and the more we leave it there, it's gonna continue getting closer to the road, so at some point, we just gotta say, you're too damn close to the road.
or we have to move?
That's what I'm doing.
So that go through your mind.
Maybe we can get the EAC to work together with traffic safety to look at some of these trees that you're recommending and see that we can help weigh the benefits and the costs, and maybe some of them can be trimmed in a way that would work. So some other ideas. Does anyone else have a comment? George?
I'm just wondering, I mean, we're not gonna do this for every intersection, right? A presentation, I mean, why don't we have the traffic safety committee make the recommendation, have the roadmaster go and cut them down? I agree with Ted.
Because it's a new committee and it's a new procedure, and we're trying to get some push for what they have to say.
Yeah, okay, but what are we doing going forward? I mean, there's gonna be more intersections and
Thank you. You got to my question before. I was being nice to her, but you got to it.
I am too.
Next, we've identified one intersection, one curve. The committee sent me a report from the police that we had no accidents in the last 5 years at either location. So my question is, what are the other risky curves or intersections in the township? And can traffic safety prioritize those for us so that we can decide which 8 trees?
yeah, I think treat it like the road, we have the road maintenance list with priorities on what roads need.
Right, but somebody. said
Repaving.
great, we don't have one about trees. dead
Yeah,
trees.
that's perfect for traffic safety committee, I
Right,
think.
so I would like to see that report. That says there's more than 8 trees out there.
I mean, I think Ted's outlined exactly what the problem is and what the process is, and I think has come up with a pretty good fix. And this one's easy because half the trees are dead.
Right, so I'm gonna ask Ken if he can maybe briefly just discuss, since he is the chair of that committee, just discuss the process just briefly. And Ted, can I ask you to shut the light off if you don't mind?
Where is it?
The
projector. Oh, that one.
Thank you. Just for a minute, that'd be great.
You
Thank
could
you very
just
much.
put this book in front of it.
Yeah, that would probably work too.
There's a. No,
Hold down the button that you just pushed.
Unplug it.
Unplug it. There you go.
Thank you very much.
I didn't want to turn it off. But
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ted.
And thank you for asking me to come up. I was kind of chomping at the bit there when George did come up, and thanks for your valid
And we
questions about.
want to keep things moving, but
Yes, so to answer your question, as far as, you know, what we've mandated in traffic safety is what we don't want to do is just say, do that intersection and do that straightaway and that one and this one. We are taking a real singular approach to places that some people come here in traffic safety and tell us about, or just perceptions or elevated accident areas such as Flowing Springs State Road. But we're looking at nonetheless. So we're really looking at it, you know, different piecemeal areas without just doing a blanket, oh, we have to hit everything and clean everything up. We want to make sure what we're allocating to is correct. I also do want to point out though, as far as the Horseshoe Trail S curve, there are a lot of times during the course of a year where traffic, first of all, there's bicycle traffic that can't go on those trails, for one. Also, a good deal of the time, a lot of dog walkers can't take their dogs through there because of poison ivy and ticks. And so and then there's my next door neighbor, Michael Williams, who just doesn't want to go on the trail, the real trail. He stays right on that road there, and every day he comes back saying, man, that guy almost hit me one more time. And just, he really has a lot of troubles there, but he keeps going out there. So with that, I agree with you that there should be signage there. I personally feel, which is not the presentation that traffic safety gave, if we worked with West Pikeland Township and got one sign at 113 at Horseshoe Trail saying something to the effect of it's a high traffic bicycle and pedestrian route, have another one of those right there on the screen by near the S curve, and then the final one up by Hollow Road with traffic coming in the southern direction, at least. But then again, I get told stuff like that doesn't work, and I do trust Ted in what I've learned a lot from Ted. And as far as line sight, but whatever keeps Michael Williams and me safe when we're out there and I'm walking my dog as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. And we do have another presentation too. Do you
Any
do you
more
need?
questions for traffic?
I just ask one.
Oh, sure. And I was gonna see if I could move it now.
I'm Bob Wise, and I just a quick question, do these big trees, do they also serve as a traffic calming device? I mean, do people slow down
Well,
when there's a big tree hanging out in the road?
some of us do.
They're not
Yeah.
careless.
Well, I don't know, I mean, it seems like when you widen your road and you make it easier to drive faster, people tend to drive faster, so you're just as dangerous to walk your dog on that road than when there's big trees that most sensible people, I would hope, slow down.
I think
I don't know whether there's ever been a study done.
You
can't see the dogs. Hopefully, most people, if they see the dog, will stop. Hopefully.
You have to do like the big reds, you just cut a big tree down.
Yeah, that's a question for an attorney, you know, if they're trying to leave hazards beside a road to try and slow people down, I think. You know, and no engineer will put his stamp on that. Absolutely zero engineers will stamp a roadside hazard as a traffic calming.
That could be, but traffic engineers should have a study that would tell them whether or not people slow down when there's obstacles, narrowing the road.
They won't. Not enough people, not enough people.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you. And while Kathy's setting up here, I did want to make a couple of announcements so we can kind of keep us moving on through here. First off, we had talked about the issue with the E. coli in the water. And Bernie, thank you very much. Bernie has been working with getting that solved, and what he feels it is solved. We want to give it another month or so of testing again before we take the signs down that are in the bathrooms about washing your hands with the water. But just want to let you know we're making progress. Bernie, if you have anything you wanted to say about that, or
No,
that's good.
in about 2 weeks, the staff was concerned that a prior UV light that was installed failed after a month. So they want to make sure that this one's going to stay around and stay active, and that's just good practice anyway. Total for the township building and the public works shed is like $150. So for everyone's safety, it's worth it, so we'll do it.
Great. I also wanted to mention that we are planning to hold the butterscotch conditional use hearing on our next scheduled board meeting, which will be August 19th at 7 o'clock. We've been having trouble getting a date for that, so we've decided to put it at our next meeting, which then means that that the event ordinance, which we were going to advertise, will move to the following month, which we'll come to that when we talk about advertising it. And one more thing I want to say, oh, by the way, it's very interesting that we have Kathy Cook here, because it is Plastic-Free July. So we're talking about a plastic ban and Plastic-Free July, which is very interesting. And one more thing, I wanted to introduce someone who had just a quick mention he wanted to make this is Bob Weiss from our Historical Commission. And he just wanted to bring something to everyone's attention that I think we should all know about from the Chester County Historic Preservation Network. That was a very interesting award we want to talk about.
Thank you very much. My name is Bob Wise. I'm the chair of the Historical Commission. And so one of our own got a little award last month given by the Chester County Historic Preservation Network. The network is a countywide network of, all municipalities, all 73, municipalities are welcome to join it, but mostly municipalities with historical commissions, historical societies, historical and architecture review boards, and others are members of this rather large organization promoting historic preservation and education to their members throughout the county. And it was started by a woman named Jane Ellis Davidson, who was the Chester County Preservation Officer soon after the bicentennial. So we go back some years. And she was part of this great countywide survey of thousands of historic resources that were 100 years and older back in the very early 80s. And that inventory has formed the basis for many municipalities' preservation programs throughout the years. And one of the people here, sitting here, Sarah Schick, got involved in historic preservation, and eventually she joined the board of the Chester County Historic Preservation Network in 2017. Every year, the network gives out awards and recognition to people who are basically outstanding in the field of historic preservation for their service to the county and their service to the community. And this year, the Jane Ellis Davidson Award went to Sarah, and I held off mentioning it in our historical commission meeting last week because I wanted to make this, well, actually, it was Dana that did all this, but we thought we would make this a surprise.
But unnecessary.
Well, I think it's necessary. Let me just read this very quick 3 or 4 line thing. It said, this is what was given at the time. This is back on, I think, the 26th of June at our annual dinner. It said, Sarah joined the network board in 2017 and served the organization on their membership committee, as well as being a tireless advocate for historic resource planning. But her main contribution has been bringing historic preservation planning to West Vincent Township, where she and her sister Harriet Stone guided the development of an historical committee to document West of Vincent's historical resources. And I helped out with that as well. And I think I said at that meeting that we probably saved the township about $27,000 in that process, because it was all volunteer effort by many different people to make that happen. And it goes on to say that guided development of creating a historical committee to document West Vincent's resources for the township and the county historic preservation atlas, which is another countywide survey done one municipality at a time. And that led to conducting extensive research with the committee. And she also participated in holding a number of town tours and village walks. For those of you who don't know that, that's a weekly event in summers that's put on by the county and the Historic Preservation Network. Network, by the way, is a nonprofit organization. So she helped out with these 3. I think we've had 3 already, 4, which is a lot for our little township over the years, and we'll have more. She was there again to support the creation of historic preservation standards for the township and our historical commission. So none of this was a simple task. And I know personally that over the years that whenever I see an email or her name on my phone, I'm very hesitant to pick it up because I know that she's bringing some new information our way that I need to act on. And it's a good thing that she brings. So one final thing is that, you know, this wasn't given lightly. It's a big deal in the Historic Preservation Committee or the community. And of course, the
politicians like to get involved. So Sarah now has these beautiful proclamations that can stand on our walls from Chrissy Houlihan and our state senator Katie Muth, our state representative Christine Howard, and of course the county commissioners. So on behalf of the Historic Preservation Committee, thank you very much, Sarah.
Before you sneak away, Bob and Peter Benton, both now on our historical commission, are life members emeritus because they have to get the whole damn thing kicked up, the network going, help Jane. They were recognized very early on as leaders in historic preservation. So we are really blessed by that. Also.
But I never got the award, so you jumped ahead of me.
Next year.
Yeah, you did the work though. So I told them when I got the award that this is really important that they put Harriet in there. And we also came up with a new T-shirt that would say Karen Marshall's fault. Because Karen did a presentation for the Northern Fed about the atlas.
She took over Jane's position.
And I went back to my sister Harriet and I said, I just heard about this really neat thing we need to do. Well, everybody who knows me and Harriet knows that that means it was for Harriet to do and I would help. And she had 18 people on that committee, including the Dolcinos, including Suzanne, George, anybody else in here who was on that. Well, anyway, we had 18 volunteers. Harriet did the herding cat part and I just did agendas in minutes. It was really very nice project. So thank you for your guidance on that. Thank my sister Harriet for doing the work when I come up with the ideas, so thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I told the network, this is not about me. This is about West Vincent and incredible volunteers.
That's
So,
true.
thank
Good.
you
Thank
all.
you, everybody. Thank you, Bob. And I just want to say that I was invited as a guest to go to that award ceremony, and I was just really impressed and delighted to see 27 other municipalities there, and our Sarah brought home the top award for achievement. So I think it's pretty cool. So thank you. So without further ado, I want to introduce Kathy Cook. She is with PA Plastics, and she's the campaign lead presenter for the plastic ban ordinance.
Yeah, I'm with Food and Water Watch. I'm with League of Women Voters, and I am also the chairperson for the Chester County Plastic Pollution Task Force.
Kathy, other Kathy, we need her to use the microphone.
Right, take that. Can we pull it off?
You can just do
That right
this.
there. Oh, yeah, turn that around. That's good. Oh, gosh. That's
Oh,
I had to stop walking into that like.
is this better?
That's great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so I just want to give you a couple of pointers about why we need single-use plastic bag bans. First of all, we have 10 billion tons of plastic. That's as much as has been produced since 1950. And we've been producing more and more and more. There's 8 gigatons of plastic now on this earth, which is about twice the amount or twice the weight of all animal life on this planet. That is how much plastic we have. This is not sustainable. We have to do something about it. And plastic is forever. It rarely decomposes. It just gets smaller and smaller. That's why you've heard microplastics, nanoplastics. We all have nanoplastics and microplastics in our blood. And here it shows it just decomposes and gets smaller and smaller. We have so much plastic in the ocean that right now there's 1 pound of plastic for every 3 pounds of fish. In 2014, it was 1.5. And by 2050, it will be 1 pound of plastic for every pound of fish. And it'll keep going as we continue to produce more and more plastic. We have to do something about it. I wanted to mention that plastics are made from fossil fuels, mostly. And chemicals, there's 3,000 chemicals roughly that are used in plastics.
2,400 of them are carcinogenic, hormone disruptors. A lot of them have not been fully looked at. We also don't know how they react with one another. And with prescription drugs in your system, you've got a chemical toxic compound going through your body. We actually eat, drink, and breathe microplastics and nanoplastics daily. Now, I mentioned the toxic chemicals in plastics. There's phthalates, those are hormone disruptors, PVC, it's linked to cancer, BPA, BPS, these are hormone disruptors. You only need just a tiny bit and it will impact your metabolism, and it is linked to many, many diseases. Now, here's some more of the toxic chemicals. Vinyl chloride, that was East Palestine trail derailment. Styrene is in styrofoam, that's carcinogenic. Bisphenol A, PFAS, PFOA, we've heard a lot about that. Phthalates is a hormone disruptor. Lead poisoning. You're poisoning yourself by some of this. Chromium, halogen flame retardants, cadmium, perchlorate, formaldehyde, and antimony. And these are just some of them. So there's so many more. And they're associated with reproductive problems, autoimmune disorders. Stroke risk is getting more and more because you have plastic in your body. The plastic is actually glomming onto the atherosclerotic plaques, blood clots. So we're finding more and more strokes. And it's associated with Parkinson's disease and is heavily associated with breast cancer. And people think we can recycle our way out of the problem. We can't. Only 5% of plastics are ever recycled. There's too many chemicals. There's too much there. You can't do it. Even though there's people that are saying, oh, that we're making recyclable plastics and so forth. A lot of that is greenwashing. You can recycle plastics maybe once, but you're doubling the amount of toxins in that plastic and you're making an inferior product. So it's really not a great way to use your recycled plastics. Plastics are also a climate problem. Plastics are made from fossil fuels, and to produce plastics, you're going to get 5 to 10% of the greenhouse gases today, but by 2050, it could exceed 20%. Last year was one of the hottest Augusts in record. In 2015, they did the slide and they were talking about how hot it was. And every year since, it's been going up and up. And we probably this year will top out from last year. So it just keeps going up. We've got to do something about global warming. And global warming, as we know, is from carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the reason we're talking about single-use plastic bag bans is because this is an old slide. They said way back when it was 36% of all plastics are single use. It's up to a 44%. Now, can you imagine if we took, let's just say 40% of the plastics, just wipe those out, how the carbon emissions would go down? We would help slow the progression of cancer and some of these other disorders. And that's why we're talking, it seems kind of crazy that we're doing single-use plastic bag bans, but there is, I just wanted to give you the rationale behind it. Now, we know for global warming that we do want to go to renewable energy, and the plastics and petrochemical companies know that too. And they're going to move from producing fossil fuels for fuel, and they're going to use Plan B, which is produce more plastics because they want to continue their market share. And they project that they will increase by 40% the global plastic production. It could be even more. Now, I show this. This is a fracking well, and they're flaring off the ethane gas, ethylene gas, and that is the feedstock. That is the feedstock for plastics. They now, instead of flaring it, send it to someplace like the Beaver Cracker plant. and they produce something called nurdles. These are plastic nurdles. They're polyethylene and they're very light and they can be carried in the air when they're dumping them into train, cars or trucks or whatever. A lot of that gets caught up in the air. And they're finding right in front of the beaver cracker plant is the Ohio River. And there's a massive fish kill there because the fish are eating these little nurdles and they think that they're fish eggs. So the fish are dying and our seabirds are dying out in the ocean. By 2050, they assume we will lose 98% of our seabirds because of eating plastic. And 12 years ago, we never heard about this. And now they've coined the term plasticosis for anything where an animal eats plastic and dies from it. So we're finding more and more camels, dogs are eating plastic. And another thing, plastic is part of our litter. The majority of our litter is plastic, and this is the Euclid. I'm part of the Euclid litter pickup. And we're picking up litter along the way and all the toxins from plastics. As it rains, those toxins go into our groundwater. And in areas where they have single-use plastic bag bans, the litter goes down by 1/3. So that will help. And plastic bans do work. Their bag bans in 2019, there were about 5 states that had bans. Now we have 12 states with full single-use plastic bag bans. And you can see here the states. And Canada does not allow 6 types of single-use plastic in their country. And this is not just a United States kind of thing. This is globally. Countries around the world are working on this. Here is a list of some of the bans that are currently in place. Here in Chester County, there are going to be a couple more. We're working with about 5 or 6 different townships on various portions of this. There's another Montgomery County group that's working and a Delaware County group. So we have 3 groups that are working on things. And there's other groups in Allegheny County that are working on single-use plastic bag bans. We have contacted, sent letters to all the townships in Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery County. And we're trying hard to help educate people about plastic bag bans. So just think if you have one reusable bag, just yourself, and you go to the store for, it could be for a trip, and you have a couple of bags that you've, now they're not going to produce because you're taking your reusable bag. And if you multiply this out by everybody, it's going to make a significant difference. We've got to do something. I mean, we've got too much things. So I just wanted to let you know why single-use plastic bag ban, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Now, should we take questions now or?
Yeah, well,
Hearing.
let's do as part of the hearing.
Okay, great.
I have a lot of questions,
Actually, do you mind shutting that down for us? Thank you so much. You can even pull the plug if you.
Back over there.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, this is Dave's part.
Put my plastic bottle away.
I want you
Bad
to.
timing. Talk about bad timing. Left my reusable bottle in the car.
Okay, we're not gonna shame you yet.
Yeah.
Next meeting, we'll
It's not
shame you.
Okay, so up for consideration tonight is the ordinance that has been drafted, it's been advertised. That would ban plastic bags in the township. And before the board can adopt the ordinance, the board has to have a hearing to do that. So we're going to now have the hearing, which gives everybody an opportunity to speak on the topic, ask questions if you'd like, so we can have a record, both by video, and Kathy will be taking notes about that. And then after, the hearing is concluded, well, then the board will consider whether or not they want to vote on the ordinance. So having said that, if there's anybody who'd like to speak for or against the ordinance, feel free to come up now. We have to have you come up, so you're heard on the record, state your name.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Lucretia Blythe. I am a visitor here in West Vincent Township. However, Sarah is my first cousin, and our grandparents purchased land on Davis Lane 100 years ago, approximately. And every time I come to visit, I love walking along Davis Lane. It is so pristine and tranquil, and the air feels so clean. And I want you so to preserve this beauty of your lovely, lovely home. I should say that I live in Virginia, and on January 1st of this year, we finally passed a statewide ordinance for a single-use plastic is prohibited. And we've all gotten well into the habit of just taking our totes with us to the grocery store. And I know it saves an enormous amount of plastic. And I want so for us to move forward and get polystyrenes on that list and a lot of other single-use plastic items, because we are destroying our beautiful, beautiful planet with the use of fossil fuels. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Barry?
Sure, when.
Barry DeLibero, 1012 Pottstown Pike. Look, you guys are gonna ban it tonight. I mean, that's a given. We're just up here talking, blah, 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 blah. That's just talking. But what I do have a problem with is some facts that are given out. If you're gonna give facts, they gotta be real facts, okay? When you talk about climate change, yes, there's climate change and things are going on. And this is not a discussion about climate change. It's a discussion about facts. For example, that August is the hottest one on record. I don't know what record that is, but archaeological wise, long-term history wise, we're in the coldest warming cycle ever. So while it may be warm to us right now, it has been much warmer in the past. If you're talking about of record since 1888, which is what most people talk about, that's fine because we just came out of the little ice age. So of course it's warmer than that because we just came out of an ice age. So what I don't like is when people give information that's really not accurate. You can make a lot of assumptions out of things because the information isn't proper. My second point is that, again, the plastic bags are going to go tonight. And we have kind of an answer for that. Carry your bag with you. Of course, convenience stores you drop by because they're places of convenience and you may not have them. So you become a juggler and you're carrying all your water bottles, which are all made of plastic anyway, which I don't like plastic water bottles. I think the water tastes like crap, to be honest with you. But what are our substitutes? Is there a plan for substitutes on this? You know, the polystyrene, things like that. Are we going to a cardboard, a wax cardboard? Is there any plan for that? Are you putting something in place for that in replacing these things?
The ordinance doesn't have anything in
But
place.
We're just,
Other than
We
that
do
market
have,
bag.
we do have resources to help shop owners who have issues with that. I know, is it Farron Savage has a whole list of options and information.
okay.
But that's all
She'll
market driven.
absolutely help people.
Yeah,
with that.
the ordinance is just.
Everything's market driven, Bernie. Everything's market driven. Unless the government gets involved and tells us that we can't, and we have to say, "Mother, may I?" That's what it all is. It's like electric cars. By the way, still haven't seen anybody at our charging station since they're charging for it now. So
Good for the taxpayer on that one. Anyway, listen, I'm not going to posture up here. We know what's going to happen. Just one of my 2 cents on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment? George?
So the mandatory bag charge. So we had a meeting and the number one comment was, why charge for the bag? Why force a merchant to charge for a bag? And at the end of the meeting, it was pretty much clear that that was the number one thing that people complained about. And you consider removing it, and yet it's back in this version of the ordinance.
We did remove it, but
We
the
reduced
committee insisted that it be in there. The committee recommending this because apparently.
The sustainability.
I think it was sustainability.
Yeah, well, we were
Um,
actually working with the consultant and,
Yeah.
I mean, Chris can get and say something you liked about that, but the consultant was saying that it was actually a problem for the townships that passed it who didn't have that it's the only way to effectively change behavior, to get people to think about the fact that what they're asking for is a resource that,
Yeah, but-
convenience, and it's an extra consumption that's not necessary. But we did bring it from 15 to 10, if that's any consolation for you.
Well, I don't think it should be anything. It should be up to the merchant. If the merchant wants to comp a 10-cent bag, why not? They're gonna eat the cost.
Should be market.
So the other thing is, the cost to the merchant is not just the 10 cents, and it's the time that they have to explain to the customer, no, you have to pay 10 cents for this. And there's something in here where they have to reprogram their point of sale machine to list a separate line item for the bag charge. And I think, the cost of labor now, it's not just, a minute or two in line wasted costs a lot more than the 10-cent charge. I think the merchant would be glad to give away the bag and avoid paying extra labor. But anyway, be that as it may, I guess you're decided. The other thing I brought up last time, I asked, well, is the zoning officer gonna go around and fine people for giving away paper bags? And somebody said here, no, they're not. He, she, whoever the zoning officer is.
It's not a zoning issue, it's a code enforcement issue.
Okay, so
You're right.
I'm sorry.
So the code enforcement officer will in fact fine people if they give away a paper bag, just to be on the record.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, there's an enforcement mechanism in the ordinance that leaves it to the township manager or her designee. So I presume it would be the code enforcement officer. If they-
Somebody in the township.
Yeah, well,
will
there
be.
has to be an enforcement mechanism.
So the answer is yes, he will be fining merchants to give away
Well,
paper bags.
No, there's a mechanism in the ordinance to allow that. Whether that happens remains to be seen, but there's a mechanism that allows it.
And I do want to clarify something.
More specific in our ordinance about that.
What portion?
Well, right now, there's a $250 fine for breaking this.
Right.
So a
I don't
giveaway,
think there's
10
anything for
cents,
first offense anyway.
we give away a 10-cent bag and get fined $250.
Well, that's enforcement, that's talking to the merchant and saying you should be charging for this, and that's for, code enforcement does that all the time, with all kinds of issues. It's not we're gonna fine everybody the minute something happens, it's educating them on the ordinance, and, hope that.
And then fining them.
Right. And
Well,
one thing I
it's
did want
a
to.
carrot and the stick.
One thing I did want to clarify, because it seems like there were some people who were confused about this. The point to this is that at the point of purchase, that you're not going to get a plastic bag. And at that point, that's when you would get charged for it. It's not, I think someone was worried about, if you go to the hardware store and you get a whole bunch of different little nails. Well, that's sort of like going to the grocery store and getting your oranges and your apples and your things, and you're gathering them and you're bringing them to the store. You're not going to get charged 10 cents for every little bag that you use to put your nails in. Okay, That's not how this would
It,
work.
it could be up to the merchant to make that decision, though, if they wanted to charge for a bag.
I mean, that's like the,
Well, that is
That's
up
the
to the
bag
merchant
that-
now without an ordinance.
Yeah.
yeah.
And my point is that without an ordinance, a merchant can decide whether to charge for a bag or not, or whether they want to eat the
But we're
cost
not
themselves.
requiring that because that's not at the point of purchase.
Everything's ultimately at the point of purchase. I mean,
But when you're checking out, that's when this goes into effect.
Hmm.
Thank you very much.
okay, my final point then is, we have a lot of talk. The initial presentation was, we're doing this because we have to change people's behavior. It's not going to make a significant environmental impact here. And yet I read through the ordinance and nowhere does it say the point of this is to change behavior and it's not going to make a significant environmental impact. So, I mean, you're going to pass something, but it doesn't reflect the way it was presented initially.
Does it remind you of changing speed limits and everybody said it's not gonna make a difference or?
No, it doesn't remind me of speed limits
Well,
whatsoever.
We heard that earlier about we're gonna change behavior by putting up signs or by reducing speeds.
You changed behavior at the charging station by charging for it, so I guess
Well,
it does work.
That charging station's a whole different thing. We can talk another time.
Yeah, I do want to say though, I think when you're saying it's not going to make a big difference. It's trying to be on the right side of history for something that we've let go for so long. That's all. We got to start somewhere. If everybody does something, maybe we'll make a difference collectively. We have a small township. It won't be noticeable in that, aggregate number of how many bags were saved, but it's something to start and it's getting people used to doing this. So, Donna?
Donna Delaney, I just want to thank you because I was one of the people who encouraged everyone to add the cost to the bag back in. Sorry, George. My understanding and my hope is that we're not changing behavior, that people get paper bags instead of plastic. The goal of this is not to kill trees. So if you were just to give away paper bags, people would take the paper and you have a whole other same problem of environmental degradation. So by charging, you're giving the message that this is something of value and it's not something that you can just dispose of without a cost. So if you give it away free and people throw it away, there's a cost. There's polluted water, there's dead fish, there's cancer, there's increased strokes. So that is a cost. And it's a medical cost. So the 10 cents a bag is a small message that shows you there's a cost. We're not trying to switch from paper to plastic, plastic to paper.
Thank you. Chris?
Chris Taylor, head of sustainability, and I was the one that had said that it won't make that much of a difference. And that was just like overall in the picture of our township, we don't have that many stores that we go shopping at as much as in other towns. So it's as other townships around us are enacting the plastic bag ban and other plastic utensils. We're just following in line and helping us all level up so that when we go shopping, we're not going to get charged the 10 or 15 cents in other townships. We all need to learn to carry our bags, learn to carry water bottles that are reusable, and it'll make a difference. It's a process, and we'll keep having to do more and learn more. And this is just the first step in that new way of being. So we've been in a way of being where we get to be kind of free to do what we want. And now we're thinking more about the environment and taking care of the planet that we live on. And it's great to feel like we're actually moving forward with something. So thank you.
Suzanne?
Suzanne Roth, 1360 Schoolhouse Lane. We can go on and on about this. There's one place where we really need to start. It's just like smoking. If we start with the children and train them about our planet and our earth and how we live and how we're going to survive, these things will go away. And until we train our children and ourselves, we are going to be dealing with this problem forever. I have gone to Washington, I cannot tell you how many times, to talk to our representatives about just these issues. And they all look at you cross-eyed. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. They just poo-poo it. The industry has a grip on those people that is just not to be believed. Their lobbyists are hammering the hell out of these people and giving them lots of money to do what they want. So it's my opinion, start with the kids and make sure you vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Anyone else before I close the hearing? Okay.
No, you're just getting up.
Anyone else?
Okay,
You coming up, John?
Nope.
just
You
getting
have something you want to say?
Yeah, well, you. So,
And we definitely found something about a peach we need to fix.
oh, and did anybody else get a laugh about having peach in our ordinance? Made me laugh out loud. I think they meant to say peace, but they put an H at the end. So I thought it was funny. It must be. But Dave, when we find things like typos and misstatements in an ordinance, do we go ahead and pass it or do we fix it first?
Well, we can pass it. They're just Scrivener issues, misspellings, typos.
Scriven.
Yeah, we can.
Yes, what legalese, right? Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't change the substance
Okay,
of the issue.
I just. I used to have a profession where we made products for people to use and we would not have put a peach in an ordinance about plastics. I promise you.
That's the other downside of a 12-page ordinance. It's very easy to miss a word here or there, but thank you for your eagle eye.
Well, thank you, but she's saying that because I kept saying a 12-page ordinance and then it got bigger and then it got smaller, but it's still too big. This is a very simple topic. So, Kathy, you talked about all of this stuff that's in our water. The last time you were here, I asked if we had any baseline for like the French Creek watershed, and there was not any at the time. So I'm personally interested is whether there's microplastics in my well water. Is there a means that I get it tested to identify?
If so, I could get you some information. Maybe someone can.
Okay, but right now we're talking about a baseline of litter, which we don't have, I believe. We're just going to show a reduction in single-use plastic litter. But what is our baseline? It's going to come down by X% because we do this, but how will we measure?
We have been talking about doing some kind of survey or collection, like picking up 100 pieces of litter and tallying what they were, that type of thing. There are ways that they do it in other towns. I'm sure that I can talk to Beth and we could do something.
Okay, so
I don't
you can
think
work
that-
with our litter lifters on that, is what you're
Yeah.
saying? Yes.
But that doesn't answer the question for West Vincent. So do we want to answer questions for West Vincent or do we want to just? I'm not opposed to the ban. I just want to make sure it makes sense. And so far,
Okay.
except for my chuckle over peaches, not much makes sense. So we don't have a baseline for litter collection when we pass
We
this.
get that through work with.
I'm
but
sure Beth and Tosha has
She knows.
so much information
Yeah.
about that.
But
Yes.
when
it's
we
very-
have it, no,
No, but she does reports to the township all the time and she has a lot of statistics and information. I wish she were here. We could ask her, but she's not here this evening. So, but certainly, this isn't going to change tomorrow because this, isn't going to go into effect immediately.
oh, that's another.
Well,
point.
people aren't going to, immediately start changing. So we could start right
I'd have
now.
to give them a little time. The other thing is you're talking about, they have a backlog of plastic bags right now, so they're gonna have to go through them because they've already bought them. They don't wanna have to
Right,
tuck them, that type of thing. So you give them a little time
right,
to
it's a
do
hardship.
that. And it's, I wanted to mention about the, enforcement. It's about, lowering the amount of plastic that is produced, lowering the amount of plastic that we use. And if you have someone that, oh, I still have a couple of plastic bags, I want to use those up and then I'll go to my paper alternative, that's one thing. It's another thing when you have a business that says, well, I'm not gonna do it. I mean, you just have to make sure that, you're working with your businesses, and this should be a business-friendly model, because right now, businesses are buying plastic bags, and the 10 cents or 15 cents, whatever you have, is helping them to, recoup, because the paper is going to be a little bit more expensive, so that we're hoping that you're not going to have undue burden of business because of this, and you won't with the money that you're going to have for the ban.
I think Donna made a very good point about if we're transitioning from plastic to paper, we haven't gone far enough. And so I'm a little concerned with just that assessment that paper is better, because we heard arguments in this sustainability committee about the carbon footprint of paper.
Right, paper does have an environmental impact. The thing is that it is, you're weighing and balancing this. The plastic is way worse than paper. The other thing is as you get your ordinance in place, people aren't going to be needing as many bags at all. They're going to get to the point where they're bringing in all kinds of reusable bags. So the business won't have to buy as many bags. They're not going to be buying the same number of plastic bags and paper bags as they did with plastic. They're going to be using.
I think we'll see a push too, where people are just not even using a bag, because sometimes you get one tiny little item and you have to get a bag for it. I mean, that's just that we're all being, we're greedy and we consume. We're used to that, so.
Everybody's
Yeah,
learning.
but we're
this.
learning, right? Yes, sir.
So I spent a lot of time today waiting for a shopper at the Giant in Lineville. And they have Euclid has the van. And most of the people walked in with their bags and walked out with stuff in their bags. Some people went in empty-handed, came out with their carts with no bags and their groceries. They put them in their cart, they took the cart back, and yeah, sort of like Costco, but this is the Giant. And then there were any number of women, of course, who are carrying things like this on their arms out to their
That's me,
car
right,
with no
jumping.
bags, or they just getting their groceries home. So I know that the ban does affect behavior. I don't have a doubt about that, but I do wonder. I think I got this bag in 1995. I've been using it ever since. So I'm not somebody you have to convince about reusable bags. I could tell you about the time that state store guy followed me around because I came in with my bag and he was sure I was going to shop it. But I didn't.
Not that just.
But this ordinance has something in it that says plastic bottles are made from plastic. So we need to spend paper on writing something like that into an ordinance. This is part of my trouble with 12-page ordinances. Just so you know that we really all need to read this stuff and make sure we're not putting stupid stuff in our ordinances, because our ordinances last for a very long time. We're still working on the
And that's a
open space plan from
change, right?
1992.
I'm not sure which one. It says
That we
most,
could say plastic is made.
most
from-
single-use plastic products are made from plastic or other material that does not readily decompose. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, we did have a suggestion. We call it plastics are mostly made from fossil fuels rather than plastics are mostly made from plastic.
I would be happy to make that change.
Okay, so we have two now.
Yeah, there's two changes that we can make too.
Well, So everything else got fixed, like there's no more references to single-use straws being banned, or does it say banned, but there's an exception?
No, they're
They're-
not banned, they're being.
They're
you need to
prohibited.
You need to ask people if they want or need them, so it's again
What-
reinforcing that behavior of, do you really need it, do you want it? Don't just throw it in the bag for everybody who's not even gonna use it, and how many of those little
For
piles of plastic forks and knives do you have in your house that you never use?
plastic straws and plastic utensils. It says, beginning 90 days after the effective date, retail establishments are prohibited from providing plastic straws and single-use plastic utensils to a customer at retail establishments or through a delivery service, except upon request by the customer. So they can provide them as long as the customer asks for them.
Okay, so Kathy talked about a reasonable amount of time for people to use up their existing stock of plastic. Is 90 days reasonable?
I would have to ask the business. I mean, it depends on how much they have ahead of time, but most places, they don't pass an ordinance and then next week, it's in effect. You have to
Right.
give the
And that's-
businesses
That's
some
where,
time.
that's where the businesses can come to us and say that they have a hardship.
Kathy,
We would provide it for that.
Dan, we should not make them have to come for us to explain our ordinance. We should have an ordinance that's clear. So.
So I'm saying if that's a hardship for them, that they have a year's worth of bags, no one's asking them to put them in the landfill, it's because.
What do we
that's
want,
not
what's
helping
we want
anyone.
them to do at 90 days? Give them to Barry? Give them to, who's up at Perk?
They could give an extension.
So on one page of the ordinance, we say, beginning, yes, 90 days after the effective date of this ordinance. And the effective days is 5 days after adoption. So we have 95 days to use up our plastics or find an alternative way to manage the extra plastics that we've now given businesses to take care of. I just want us to be clear about what we're trying to do. When Euclid Township passed their ordinance, I believe they gave almost a year before it went into effect. It's 90 or 95 days, what we want to do to our very small number of small businesses. If they do say yes, I would say that's not enough
I
time.
don't know what you think, Lynn, but I feel like most of our businesses have changed on their own. A lot of them have, and we've been talking about it for what, 3-4 years now? So
I'd stick with 90 days.
it's not a surprise.
Any small business.
Someone can come to us with a
representatives here.
hardship.
How come we don't have people impacted by this ban?
I don't know, our township did their best to get them out here.
Except for, okay, okay, we won't go there. All right, that was testing of our waters. We haven't done that yet, but we're gonna find out how we can. Has Green Valleys or any other watershed protection organization given us the alert that it's in the Birch Run or the French Creek? I mean, everybody says it's pervasive, but Kathy's study talks about 200 tests, none of which were in southeast Pennsylvania. So why don't we get data that pertains to us? Just because I'm a data person. I think I'm just about done, except who was our consultant to the sustainability committee that gave us all this.
Fair, well, Kathy Cook and Farron.
Farron Savage.
Say,
Savin, S-A-V-I-N, Farron, F-A-R-I-N.
And
Farron Fire.
he's with Penn and.
right, so with the lobby group. What's the first name?
Farron, F-A-R-I-N.
Thank you.
And I believe we actually videotaped him. Right, when he called in, and I believe I sent that around to everyone.
The sustainability committee is not sure.
Did we actually, I don't remember videotape.
No, I think it was an audio tape. We had an audio tape. Anyone is interested, I probably find it.
I think we would all be interested.
I thought it was an interesting discussion,
So
but I sent it to you.
Barry asked a very good question about what are substitutes? What do we recommend to keep? Right now, we recommend code enforcement. Is that where we want to be?
Yes.
I'm Patty Richards. I'm actually part of the Lit Lifters Wisconsin, and just to answer your question about the litter that's been collected, we've had about 27 tons collected. But I also have a question in regards to the substitute. What's the replacement? Because we do know that sometimes like deliveries and other places, they can substitute single-use plastic, but it can be something that's made of other types of plastics, or polypropylene and propylene. And it's just a thicker plastic. So I would also be interested to know what the replacement recommendation is. I mean, I think it's great banning single-use plastics as long as we have an adequate, sustainable replacement that doesn't cause additional litter to our environment.
Thank you. Anyone
And
else?
thank you for your part with the litter lifters too.
Well, there's a bunch of litter lifters.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
We definitely have a strong community of litter lifters here.
Okay, I'm pretty much run out. Except I'm gonna let us all go home tonight. So
We still have a meeting to get to.
I know, but you always know I will have.
Okay,
questions.
this is your turn.
Anyone else? Okay,
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate you coming
anyone
out.
want to underscore any of my questions or requests? Okay, we'll go home tonight.
Shall we close the hearing?
I think
You ready to
so.
close the hearing?
Yeah.
All right, recommend you close the hearing. And
Need a
then,
motion?
yes, please.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 208 for the promotion of use of reusable bags, etc.
I will second that motion and establish a charge for the provision of certain types of bags at the point of sale.
It would,
I'm gonna read that whole motion. How about it?
Good.
You guys can do that?
Well,
Okay,
I read.
so we're making a motion to adopt ordinance number 2, but,
I put two of it.
okay, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 208, promote the use of reusable bags. Prohibit the use of single-use carry-out plastic bags, polystyrene, food and drink containers by commercial establishments, and establishing a charge for the provision of certain types of bags at the point of sale. Okay,
with the two changes, peace will be, peach will be peace. Peace on the first sentence, and I'm gonna change
where it says
Plastic. Made of
plastic.
plastic.
They are made from fossil fuels and or other material that does not readily decompose.
Okay,
Okay,
that's good. I'm sure there's more.
there may be others, and if I find anything else, I'll change.
So if you find something else and it's not been a part of this hearing,
We will
tell-
definitely fix it, yeah.
Well, but not only will we fix it, will we tell people what we've done?
Sure,
Yeah, I
would Absolutely.
anticipate it'll be all
absolutely. So,
similar, but.
all in favor? Oh, what, didn't we just have a comment?
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
Yeah.
All in favor, aye?
Wait, was there another comment?
No. I just asked if there was,
I'll try again. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye, with the proviso
Of
that
this
there are
correction.
things in this that have got to be fixed and we're not gonna let it languish before we improve it.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, as the liaison to the EAC, the litter lifters and sustainability, we have been talking about this for well, over 2.5, I've been in office for 2.5 years. We've been talking about it since then. It's a very hot topic. And I'm delighted to see that we're moving forward with this. You know, we're a small township. We don't have a lot of businesses, that's true, that will be affected by this, and we don't expect that that this is gonna save the planet, but it's a small act in the right direction, and I do think that our businesses are ready for this. It's an agent of change.
all of the sustainability that people that didn't wear their shirts.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you for
Wait,
bringing
no, wait, I
sustainability.
want you to read the back of it. This
Take
was,
a picture.
What's it
well,
say?
you don't need a.
Something
picture.
about a big impact.
What does
I
it
can't
say?
think. Small changes
Small
make a big,
change,
and that's what
big
this is. We're
impact.
trying to make a ripple effect too.
I am a believer.
Yeah.
I was on
Change
the
some behaviors.
original sustainability committee, how many years ago?
All right.
A decade or two, and this was on our list then.
Excellent. So we accomplished something,
What it
Sarah.
made sense.
Yes, it has. Unanimous. And it was unanimous. How about that? All right. Yes. Real quick.
Pizza tonight for dinner, and we had this lovely young waitress, and she knows us, so she brought us last week without and she remembered us, and they said, you know, tonight we're going to a meeting where this could be banned in a way that people would have to ask for them. She said, thank you so much for what you're doing on a generation.
Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of resistance from our businesses, so I think we're gonna be okay, and we'll get used to it. We will.
You know, Ted used to say, no straws, we're saving dinosaurs.
Thank you all. So let's get back into our business here. So the treasury report, usually that's the highlight of our day is the treasurer's report, and we didn't even get to that. So I'm going to, there are copies, it's online. So since Jackie's not here, I'm just going to read the summary of funds, which is the total of all funds is $12,780,550.92. And there's a comparison from last year. Thank you. Which is $12,299,272.64. The expenditure summary is $298,765.25. Do we have a motion to approve the expenditure summary?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
Can I make a quick comment?
Sure.
So.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you a chance to comment.
No, that's fine.
But you know
It's
what?
not about,
Much because,
it's about the format, not the content. So
Sure.
this is improved.
oh, good.
So tell Jackie, it's improved. I think we can still leave a little more space for the fields that we think are important.
Okay.
And also the memo field, there is some detail now for a lot of invoices, for example, engineering and so forth, at least 2 or 3 words. It helps a lot. At least you can look at it and know what it is. Legal is still pretty opaque, just an invoice number. I guess my question would be, is there any reason, any way that we could add 2 or 3 words like we do for the engineering expenditures so that we don't just see a list of invoices?
Dave, is there a problem with that?
I think there's some things that.
We used to do that.
Yeah, I know. but
It doesn't
some
have to be
things-
full detail, it just be like,
don't see where.
he's just going through it and he's saying. that-
In the expenditures, it just lists your invoice number, but not any
Well,
other information.
okay.
So if you look at for example, the engineer, Cedarville's list, it'll say invoice number and then like 3 words, the road or something like that.
Well, my invoices are by matters, so that certainly could be included.
Okay,
Invoice in the matter, not matter.
the matter could be.
Yeah.
And you're just a few words.
Yeah,
You could
Yeah.
say.
Okay.
our file name,
Sure.
my file name.
Sure, that's enough. That's all I asked.
Can you work with a protocol with that Jackie could just pick up what your name?
It's on every bill. It's on every invoice. They just,
Got it all
Oh,
right.
great. you
yeah,
got it.
it's
Okay,
on
great.
every invoice. They just have to add that piece.
Oh, are you the memo writer? Oh, okay. Okay, well then,
Then it's in good hands.
we're talking to the source then.
But there's
Yeah.
other attorneys doing work for the township besides me,
What?
the labor attorney right now, so.
Sure, I mean, but it's a start.
But-
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, and we'll pass along your comments that we're moving in the right direction. We're also still working on trying to get it up on the screen. We almost did it, but we kind of ran out of time today, so next meeting we'll try. Okay? That's helpful to anyone. So where were we? Managers report. Okay, I'll just briefly mention a couple of things that are here that Jackie has without her being here. we had talked about the sale of the mowers before, and one of the mowers did not get picked up, but it finally went through and that was paid for. They paid $3,000 this week, so we no longer have to put that back out to community bid. There's, I believe, a resolution on 1420 Hollow Road easement, I believe. That
There's a plan.
yeah, there's a plan that's being resolved. The township did agree to install 2 drainage pipes, so the water is not concentrated in one place. And our engineer is putting together plans and then Dave will put together our easement. So hopefully that's going to get resolved. That's fantastic. There are also some other storm water issues that were brought to light, where we have 4 residents that were identified with gravel roads and gravel driveways, excuse me, which is an impervious surface, and they were paid without the proper permits to ensure that the run onto neighboring properties or streets were channeled properly. And so they are being addressed, and that is something that we want to continue to address, because we do have to start looking towards our MS4, and we need to make sure we stay on top of that. So we are noticing these things and enforcing them. And speaking of MS4, we have the 5-year waiver. And we need to begin having an engineer come up with an engineer plan, which, we have a 5-year timeline that we want to make sure we have that plan worked out so that, it could be over $500,000 worth of cost to rectify things. So we need to make sure we're prepared to get all that done within the timeline that the MS4 waiver is going to run out, because we don't want to keep forever. We're trying to request that, but at some point they're not going to give it to us, and we don't want to be caught off guard with that. Announcement that Evans Park, due to the drought, is being closed. For right
The
now.
playing the fields.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was gonna say that. Yeah, yeah, not the whole park, just the baseball field.
No, I think it's both fields. I think that.
Well, we can't close the soccer because we have some obligations there.
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna be closed except for the obligations.
Okay,
So to keep the play on it at a minimum, whatever obligations you have, you'll allow, but stop other play on those fields during the drought.
And the obligation is we already took the money from the leagues to be scheduled, so. We're not gonna screw them up, but we're not gonna let further degradation happening to either of our playing fields.
so we'll keep a close eye on that to see when we can reverse that, but for now it is going to be closed. And she also has here about the 401A bid award, which we're
That's-
gonna get
You have
to.
that on your
Yeah,
agenda.
that's on the agenda. And I think I think that's about all we need to talk about tonight for that. Okay, so we'll get into new business. And we had to authorize the administration to advertise the special event ordinance, which we're going to make a change to that. And we're going to change it to September 16th. We were going to have it next meeting, but because of the butterscotch moving up in the agenda, that's just too much to have in one night. So we will move that another month to September 16th. Do we have a motion for that?
Certainly, if we need it, I will make a motion to authorize the administration to advertise the special events ordinance for September 16th.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Oh, sorry, questions? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that motion passes. We also need a motion to approve the Dickinson's mowing agreement, which is, we had talked about it before, and it's just a slight change in the legal verbiage. for that.
This is revisions proposed by Mr. Dickinson's attorney. I reviewed it. They're acceptable to me.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion to approve the Dickinson mowing agreement.
And I would second it as amended by his solicitor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Approve resolution number 11, for the destruction of public records. That makes me so happy. This is the second one we're doing. I can't wait till we empty the whole
Attic.
yeah, the whole deal up there. So, we have a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 11, destruction of public records, number 2.
I'll second that.
What
Any
years?
questions on that?
It varies years.
2003.
Let me just-
I saw some that said 2003, but just so you know, there is nothing that is required to be,
On the website.
yeah, it was on the website.
Has the list.
There's
It's all over the place.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
What's the most recent?
looks like maybe there's a few 2016.
Hmm.
And some go back to 07. 03.
I know I saw
Yeah.
it.
What are they? What's the type of record?
You want my copy? Because I don't need it.
Yeah.
Is that easy to kind of summarize what you're looking for in there that you're disposing of? Because I know it's nothing that needs to be.
Yeah, there, it's
Scanned.
summarized on there.
Mhm.
I was just wondering how you pick them, if they're all over the place. Or do you just go by what box?
By the boxes.
Go through boxes and then again
Yeah.
can be destroyed, then they're put on the
You approve
list
that, right?
and they're destroyed.
You approve that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you approve that. Right. Great, there's no other questions. We'll move on. Let's see, approve the payment number 7 in the amount of $226,437.07 to J&K Excavating. And this is the second to last payment. I believe we have $82,000 left with, which includes the retainage.
Correct.
Correct.
For
On
January.
the Janie Lane drainage project.
Yes. you can leave.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve payment number 7 in the amount of $226,437.07 to J&K Excavating for the Janie Lane drainage project.
So I'll second that. And my first question is, when do we think they're going to be done?
I
I
don't
can't
know.
answer that.
I can-
Oh, good, Kathy.
This is actually the last payment for the work.
Oh, it
Well,
is.
then we're
So
not
the
doing any
retainage-
retainage.
The retainage is the
82,000.
82,000,
Right.
and that's for the, the things that they,
Post-inspection
yes,
cleanup stuff.
yeah, things that they need to fix.
But do we know when they think they'll be done?
That part, I don't know, because, LTL has to go out and check it now. And so if they find things that are wrong or they need to be fixed, then, they'll pull from the retainage, so.
So, yes, it's just that knowing that my neighbors live downstream on Rock Run. I hear a lot of things about why is the water yellow today? And we don't have answers to that. And so I wanted to know when we stop getting questions like that.
So it's essentially, the work is complete. They just
Right.
need to fine tune it,
Yes.
make sure that there's nothing that was missed. And then we'll wrap up any final payment.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Has
So,
anyone driven it to see what it looks like now?
Not yet.
Someone- do
Julia,
you have a question?
No, I've driven.
You just, okay, thank
I
you.
mean, I've driven,
are you happy with it?
yeah, I mean, I come down Flowing Springs Road, it's like a ramp going right in my driveway.
Great.
I can hit it at like 55.
Do we have,
Don't
Safety committee.
Yeah. do we have any other questions on that?
No trees in that room.
Okay. Seeing no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And lastly, we have to approve the 401A bid award, which I believe is going to Vanguard, that's correct?
Yeah, through CBIZ is the company.
Mhm.
I'll make the motion to approve the 401A bid award.
I will second that.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We have any public comment on non-agenda items, or has everybody had enough of us here tonight? Is there anything else we can,
I have two quickies.
Suzanne?
Well, Suzanne.
No, Suzanne comes first. Let's Suzanne.
Brian Curry made the excellent suggestion that we identify how many payments of what we're making and like the retainage question. I thought that was a great suggestion. And what was the other way?
If we're saying Virginia Lane, because we do have that all spelled out.
I know, but it's a good practice, not just for Jamie, but for any project where we
Okay.
have multiple payments, that the public knows how far we're from this.
Can we post that? Because I mean, it's a lot to talk about, but
Well,
every
it's-
time we get
It's
that
not
in our board packet, can we, Dave,
Right.
can we post that
Yeah,
information?
But if it
Sure.
says
Okay, we can
payment
consider that.
number 7, we can say 7 or 9. That would be very simple.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, Suzanne.
Good suggestion. I said, good suggestion. Suzanne Roth, 1360 Schoolhouse Lane. I'm here for the same reason I was here the last time. My road, in a very unpolite, unladylike way, sucks canal water. It is the worst road in the county, I think. And it's not getting any better. And the people who drive on it are only getting worse. And the last time it was paved was in the 90s, sometime, I believe. My house has been there for approximately 175 years. And I've lived in it for 48, and I think the road's been paved twice in those 48 years. And this is getting to be beyond the beyond. The traffic, the people, it's just out of this world. I mean, I take my life in my hands to walk my dog off my property. It's bad enough that all the other roads are terrible because people are going faster. But I think the last time I brought this to the attention of the roads committee, they said that 15 miles an hour was unlawful, although that's what's posted. And I don't understand why we can't ticket people or do something to make them slow down. It's unconscionable. My husband fell down on the road and nobody stopped to pick him up. Now, this is getting beyond the beyond. And I've been trying to be patient. I used to say, don't fill those potholes because people will stop. Well, doesn't make any difference anymore. They just keep going. So, yes.
Suzanne, is there a time of day that is worse than others, or? can you-
Yes, commuting time.
Commuting time.
Commuting time is the worst. And, honestly, the speed bump in our road also is terrible. It's been damaged for more than 6 months. It doesn't slow anybody down. All it does is make a lot of noise. And all the traffic with all those trucks, with all those trailers, with all that equipment on them bouncing over the road besides the traffic lump and hitting the potholes, it's terrible. I mean, we're woken up at 5 o'clock in the morning just from traffic. My patience is wearing thin and I'm getting old and I'm getting grumpier. So I just would love to know when you think you're going to repave the road and how it's going to, when. This is,
I don't think the board has an answer for you here today. What I do know is that there has to be this water remediation first. So
We just got
if
it
that
through.
project's out for, let's call it a year.
Just,
I don't know how long this was.
Looked in with what.
I know what's happening. I also know that when I moved into that house, we had no issues with water like you're having today. And the reason that there are issues is because there was a failure, in my estimation, on the township and their inspection of the property, the old Mocrae's property when it was rehabilitated. That people were allowed to do things that were not kosher, and nobody's done anything about it. Let's put it that way. The water is coming right up through the road, and Springs will do that. They're going to keep coming up through the road.
I think the plan, as I understand it, I'm new to this, is to solve the water problem so the road can be repaired. And we're getting closer to that issue. At a meeting last week, unfortunately I missed it, with the property owners across the street, as far as the location of pipes.
Can I say something to you? Before that water issue was an issue, the road has been an issue.
Well, I understand that, but the township is not going to repair the road, pave the road where there is a water issue now. They gotta solve the water issue, because Water, I understand, is affecting the roads coming up.
Springs have their way. And I can only tell you that there's one spring that's been piped on our road that works, and it's off my lower drive. It's the only piece of road, and I don't know when it was done, but it's the only piece of road. They piped the string, took it over to the creek and paved it. It's the only piece of road that is held up in the however many years I've been there, the 48 years I've been there. So I suggest that perhaps you need to consult with a person who did that particular work, although I know he doesn't work for the township anymore, but it might be worthwhile finding him and talking to him, because he clearly knew what he was doing and the rest of the people do not. And that's my comment, and I'm just very disappointed. And also, I don't know if there's any way of putting signage up in our area. Our roads were not built for automobiles and two-way traffic, particularly in the village. It just isn't, it wasn't done. And there are people who live here who understand that, but we have a lot of people now coming through here. Thank you to GPS and all these other things. As I said to you, the last time I was here, I was talking to Whitney Yeager, standing at the old township building as an 18-wheeler came down from Route 100 on Flowing Springs Road, right past where we were standing. Now, please, how there was not an accident is beyond me, because that part of Flowing Springs is even worse. So, I mean, I don't know if you put signs up that say, caution people, wildlife, old village, old people, please drive slowly or pay attention. I don't know.
Suzanne, these are precisely the things that the Traffic Safety Committee is working on now. And one that may not affect you directly, but is right in your neighborhood, is if you're coming north on Schoolhouse to cross over Flowing Springs, but if you make the left to go down to Butterscotch, you have to travel.
It's killer.
stay in your
Yeah,
place.
I suggested they put a mirror up, and I think they're considering that.
Here is, one of the things we've been
Last
discussing.
resort.
The other is a three-way stop sign. Well, it'll stop the cars from coming east going west on.
So three-way stop, so you're going to put a stop sign coming down that they'll stop. And then you'll pray when the ice hits that they don't just flow right through it. Well, anyway, that's
You have to drive through conditions.
I understand.
Now coming up, yes, that's why the three. That's
Okay.
what it's doing for.
Now, is
So
this,
these are in the works, but go ahead.
is this the same area that someone had proposed doing, making it one way?
Well, that's what I
That-
was.
Right turn only or one way. One way would be helpful.
One of the concepts Barry might have been involved in was making it a cul-de-sac, so that we did not have through traffic, but that would just force more traffic down to the post office.
So one way would help one condition. The other problem is the crossroads at the post office is inadequate for large vehicles.
And it's a national historic district, so we're limited in things that we can do.
Correct.
I'm gonna get you a shirt that says, nevertheless, she persisted. Suzanne's been talking about this for a very long time, and there, a lot of options have been explored, but it's absolutely time to look at them again.
You know, as I said, times have changed, people have changed. They don't pay attention when they're driving. I mean, I stop young people on the road to tell them to please wear something so that they can be seen, because people are driving so quickly. I was walking my dog today and someone drove down Hollow Road within 1 foot of me going 50 miles an hour. Now, I was not in the road, I was on the side. But I mean, that's the attitude that we're dealing with these days. So, I mean, I could have put my arm out and touched that car. I almost want to carry my hunting whip and go, give him a little wake-up call.
I had the image of a orange paintbrush. When they
Oh,
went
I
by,
like
it
that.
just-
I like that.
I'm curious if if it was up to you, would you get rid of the speed bump or is there any guidance?
I honestly don't know.
Like them.
You know, the one that we have is ineffective because most people don't even stop. They just roll right over it because it doesn't make them slow. The only people who slow down are those people who are going to slow down anyway. That one is just the pits. I can tell you, unfortunately, I was over at Phoenixville Hospital last week and their speed bumps are these little tacky things that are like that. And man, you got to stop because they're pointy and you can't drive over them or you just can't speed over them. Anyway, I don't know what the answer to the speed bump is, but that one certainly should never be replaced as is. I mean, it just was ineffective.
I know Dave has been very involved with this project here, so I'm sure he'll ask some more questions about it. We'll see
Try to get the
what we can find out.
stormwater resolved and then go from there.
Steve,
Don't
do you
give up
want
hope.
to add something to this or just, we're trying to solve something?
Yeah. I
Thank
know.
you. Yeah, thank you.
The speed bump that's in there now is just one of the ones you tack onto onto the thing. It's never meant to be a permanent solution.
Okay.
The solution, it is in the plan for when it gets repaid to have a proper built-in speed bump incorporated. Mike Hogan says that basically it's the same project now. The drainage issue remediation and the road, it's the same project. But they got to tear up the road to fix the water and then they repave it.
Do we have?
Has Mike mentioned the resistance we got from Public Works previously that speed bumps are really hard on plows?
There's a lot of issues.
That's what
Emergency vehicles and.
That's exactly what the
Noise
damage to
issues.
this.
So why do we want
It's
to
all
put a speed bump in if it's gonna damage the plows and then we have to fix the speed bump and?
If it's built into the road, it flows. It's not, there's nothing for the plow to catch on to.
Okay, I hope so. Okay.
Well, are there any other comments?
No.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you. I think we're going to make a motion to adjourn. Adjourn. Thank you.
Susanna.
Thank you all.
Are a little older, a little right here.